Just to kind of refresh our viewers' memories here, we talked in a couple other segments or programs here on Citizens Forum about the changes to the transcripts. And we talked about the tapes that are in existence that are supposed to be available for $20, but you can't get those tapes because if you got the tapes, then you would see, because that's the audio of the proceedings, that the transcripts were changed.
Right.
And we just saw that in that film clip that we just viewed.
And see, the bigger problem is it would go into all these kind of cases because it's not just here taking your home, bankruptcy court,
Yes.
The whole thing is going to blow open. It blows open, it's over for this man. Because here's the point. The man has to know what's going on in the Shakman. The Shakman is just like Al Capone's tax evasion. The Shakman is Daley's debt song.
What amazes me is that this segment that we just saw was aired on Channel 7 with one of Chicago's premier news anchors. It's funny, why didn't it shake the foundation of the corruption in the system?
Well, it probably did. They know they can't win this. They know what it's going to create. What happens to this whole court system then? What happens with the death penalty in these people? How can you have a death penalty if they're doing this? It's impossible. So even if you believe in the death penalty, the point is you're going to have to hold the Daley administration and them responsible for this. They control the judges.
Well, the title of the book that we've talked about,
That's right.
Death of the Justice System, it's not just the city of Chicago, it's the death of the entire justice system.
She's got cases from Houston in there, too, about this woman, Dolly Bertier, and other cases like from Lyons. It shows they're doing the same stuff because you must remember, it all started here. Because in the 50s, like when I was a kid, 8, 9 years old, whatever it was, these guys were then spreading out to the other cities and running the same way. And what you must understand is all roads lead to Rome, which I mean is they all go back to the Dirksen building. That's our court here for the next 3 states, just like they got one in the 9th district. And considering I'm in the federal courts, that takes into consideration this whole system.
Now, how long ago did this segment air that we just saw?
This aired, I did a national show too, aired in 94. This one aired in the 90s, about 96. And
10 years ago?
Sure, they just, well, you see, you got to understand how it ran with these guys. The U.S. attorneys before looked the other way for any fraud in the Shakman or anything like that. But the problem is like what the lady to my left has got to understand is the same judges that are doing the Shakman, the same lawyers are doing these cases too. So if you cheat one time one way, it's easy to do it the next way.
Hence the rotten barrel.
And then not only that, that's the rotten barrel, and then the patronage. You must make your guy win. Daley must look good when he was state's attorney putting these guys away. I mean, my God, that's patronage.
So 10 years after this clip aired on Channel 7,
yeah, but the cheating...
Where are you now? I mean,
well, I'm on disability, and, you know, that's it.
Well, I mean, where are you in this case? I mean, nothing's happened,
we're gonna, yeah, well, we're going to go back in. Well, it's up to the U.S. attorney to go in. Like Andrew just wrote a note to them to go in. Then people maybe have to take it in their own team where they're going to march and ask him what's going on here. You got to face this here.
Is there anything the viewers can do?
Yeah, they can call in, get the book, do what they can, try to join organizations like this, because you're killing people here. I mean, my God, it's like they're animals then, and just put them to sleep.
Illinois took, under Governor George Ryan's administration, released, I believe it was 13 people off of death row because DNA evidence proved that they could not possibly, at least as I understand it, could not possibly have committed a crime.
Let me ask you a question to that then. Okay, if that happens, then how in the world did you get these guys with so much evidence that they couldn't possibly, beyond a shadow of a doubt, if they're not the guys? They had to be framed, haven't they? You can't go after the cops that did it because they're going to relate to who's telling them to do this. You know, it comes from the top.
And yet, the constituents, we all tell the politicians, we want tougher laws. We want criminals put in jail. You know, we want the drug dealers off the streets. We want all the criminals off the street. Go after these guys.
Well, you know what?
But then what you have, though, Gene, is that because if, well, as much as I hate to admit it, any lawyer that I've ever talked about, I said, well, whatever happened to the truth in the justice system?
Mm-hmm.
They said a trial is not about the truth.
Mm-hmm.
It's about who wins the case.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Well, you have to change. You have to start at the top. You have to get a new barrel. That's the number one thing. And you don't do it like this U.S. attorney's doing it. You know, I respect them or whatever it is. You got to change the top. Why start at the bottom? They always change the bottom guys. They're nobodies. The top has to be changed. 5 top guys, every department, every court has got to go.
The thing that frustrates me, both when I was on the radio in Aurora, Illinois, on WBIG, and here on Citizens Forum, here on Public Access Chicago, you know you're reaching people.
Mm-hmm.
We have 2 more guests on this program today now that are involved in the media, and we'll get to you in just a second here. And you know that you're reaching people, you know that people are listening, but what kind of an impact are we having?
Mm-hmm.
Are people paying attention? Are they saying, you know, I heard such and such a show today on the radio, or I saw such a program on Public Access Chicago, and I'm going to put my beer down and I'm going to shut the television off and I'm going to write a letter to my representative or to Patrick Fitzgerald because I'm concerned about this. But it's not happening. Why not?
Well, you know what, too? You got to go after the money part of this. Here's the point. These guys that are doing this should be tried under the RICO Act, where you take their funds from them.
It's not the
take
first
their
time
money.
I've heard that.
That's how you've got to do it.
Yeah.
Not only that, if you're going to protest, you protest to Patrick Fitzgerald. If he lies to you, then you go to the sponsors of the Sun-Times, the ones that are giving the article, and you go after their money. The money is the key here. It's the same thing with Burge. If he's torturing people, how can you be paying him his salary? What is it, for torture? I mean, why are you paying this man? I mean, the point is, now, here's another fact. There is no statute of limitations on fraud in a court. If his stuff and his confessions were used in a court, that means he's got fraud on the court. He goes too. But they don't want to tell you this because then the lawyers got to go and everybody got to go. Everybody's got to own up to what happened.
And the system collapses.
And but you got to collapse it to build a new system, do it right. But you don't have to take everybody's job.
Quick question for you, Gene. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that it's going to take the ultimate collapse of the entire justice system?
Not if they go after the top 5.
Right?
Not if they go after the top 5. Because here, the other ones are just the sheep. They just follow. They lead. They do what's told. Which way the wind's blowing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in other words, you give them the opportunity. You take away the guys that are making all the money behind the political guys. You take that off, and you leave them at their jobs. If they don't straighten out and do it right, you'll see them, and you'll get rid of them then.
Being on the program with us today. And Cathy McMillan, you're a lead organizer, actually, of the Commission to End the Death Penalty in Hyde Park. You're part of the Hyde Park chapter.
That's campaign.
Campaign. To end the death penalty. How are things going? Are you making some headway, and what are some of the things you're doing right now?
Well, as you know, and not surprisingly, Illinois has been at the front of the stage in regards to reform of death penalty laws here in Illinois. And in fact, Governor Ryan emptied death row. We organize around family members, victims, former death row exonerees, as well, to work with them to bring this issue to the forefront in the public eye. Right now, we are hosting our annual convention, November 11th through 12th, at University of Chicago, and that's in Ida Noyes Hall. We've been very active in the organizing around the John Burge campaign torture issue. Madison Hobley, who is on our board, was a torture victim on death row that we worked with extensively to help free him from death row.
Mercedes, thank you very much. I want to thank all of you. This was an information-packed show.